Thank you everybody for taking the time out of their busy schedules to come and take part in this project to discuss the Ellenbrook Community Hub, which many of you would be familiar with, having been involved in our EOI process, the surveys, and potentially having interviews with the project team today. So thanks very much. My name is Pettit, and I work in the asset management team at the City of Swan. So first up, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and a continuing connection to the land, waters and community. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and descendants. I would like to thank key contributors, Jessica Shaw, member for Swan Hills, and Tania Lawrence, member for Hasluck. We also have City of Swan elected members here from the PS ward and other wards in the city, so thank you for taking the time to come along. And from the city's project team, James Earnshaw, here in the front row, our advocacy specialist, Lisa Kay, our community engagement officer, and Julian Wright is hiding down the back. He's actually filming the session tonight, so thank you very much, Julian, and that will be made available online for those who couldn't make it this evening. So we're here tonight as the city plans to deliver a new multi-purpose community centre in Ellenbrook on behalf of the State of WA and the Australian Government. This $5.5 million project includes commitments of $3.5 million from Jessica Shaw, member for Swan Hills, and $2 million committed by Tania Lawrence, member for Hasluck. So the project is currently in the feasibility stage, and there are some things that we know at this stage. Feasibility being the first stage of the project before we go into detailed design. And there are also some things that we don't know, those unknown parts that we need you to help us to answer. So the things that we know are the project budget, the site, which is the Ellenbrook District Open Space North, former site of the Ellenbrook Leisure Centre, and the proposed building use. It will be a multi-purpose community centre that will feature different spaces to cater for a variety of different community groups. And then there are those unknown factors that we need your help with. So in the last 3 months, the city sought feedback from community groups and clubs to help fill in those gaps. By taking the time to test the feasibility of this project, we can make sure that we get it right. And for those of you who might be seeing this for the first time, who haven't yet taken part in the EOI surveys or those meetings, your feedback is also valid, and we do welcome this evening. This session brings everybody together to hear the results of our stakeholder engagement phase and to view concept plan options to test how spaces could be brought together to deliver a balanced approach. So I understand we had a few registrations from different groups before tonight, so I understand that within the room we've got representation from the Ellenbrook Punjabi Council, Ellenbrook Men's Shed, Ellenbrook Combined Progress Club, Ellenbrook Mile, Ellenbrook Community Garden, Ellenbrook Community Language and Multicultural Drama and Dance Group. Was there anyone else in the room that would like to say their community group name and who you're representing?
Ellenbrook Arts.
Ellenbrook Arts, yes.
Ellenbrook Community Radio.
Ellenbrook Community Radio, hello.
I'm also representing Multicultural Community.
Yes, Multicultural Community, thank you.
Ellenbrook Falcons.
Ellenbrook Falcons, great. Good.
Ellenbrook Senior Football Club.
Ellenbrook Senior Football Club, good one.
Ellenbrook Classy Arts Ladies Group.
I don't know if I should repeat that, no. Thank you very much. Oh, we've got another one.
Ellenbrook RSL.
Ellenbrook RSL. Oh, good. Thank you so much. What a group of very varied, diverse groups. So thank you very much for coming. So I will get off in a moment, but I'll just show you our agenda for this evening. So a bit of a welcome done by me. Going to jump to the project update where we've got Element. So Liz from Element is here. She's going to do an update on the community consultation results. Just in the front row here we've got Paul and Christian from Site Architecture Studio. They'll be running through the concept designs. Then we'll have a 10-minute break just after any high-level clarifications about the drawings so that you can have a break, make a cup of tea, chat to your buddies about what you think, what your comments and feedback might be, and then we're going to come back into the room, so I encourage you, please don't leave at that point. Your feedback is very important to us, so we'd like you to stay. And then we'll talk about the next steps. But first of all, I would like to invite Jessica Shaw and Tania Lawrence to say a few words about the project. I can make them welcome.
Thanks, Julianne. Thank you. Look, Kaya Wanju, I also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Can I also acknowledge the councillors who are here and obviously my parliamentary colleague Tania Lawrence. I want to talk to you a little bit about the genesis of this project, why it is that we're here today, and certainly when I made the commitment, what it is that I hoped as a community that we would be able to achieve with this. The idea for some sort of community hub building was first brought to me just after I was elected, probably back in 2018, and it reflected the fact that right the way across the Ellenbrook area, so if we have a look at the Ellenbrook, Averley, the Vines, and then probably also looking down, well certainly looking down into Brabham, Dayton, Caversham, there's actually nowhere in our local area where we can come together as a large group and as large groups and hold functions. And you know, I've been to the Ellenbrook Dockers quiz night, and they literally can't get enough tables in for their major fundraisers. I went to Alnor's graduation for their young women. They literally couldn't fit the people for attending that event in the Ellenbrook District open space. The Vines Ratepayer Association had a huge community meeting when they were first trying to get together to talk about what were they going to do with the Vines the Vines redevelopment. Nowhere in Ellenbrook was big enough, and they couldn't hire a City of Swan venue, so the Ellenbrook Bowls Club very kindly hosted, but people were literally spilling out of that room. There is nowhere in Ellenbrook that is capable of hosting larger community gatherings, and whether that's formal events put on by the Ellenbrook Multicultural Foundation or the Ellenbrook Punjabi Foundation, or whether it's even somebody who wants to perhaps have a big celebration, a birthday, a wedding, an engagement party. There's nowhere big enough for us to come together and to meet. And so that was the first thing that people said, we need a much bigger function space than the one we already have. So the one, as I say, at EDOS is the largest one we've got, and it's far too small. Ellenbrook has a population of 50,000 people now. Averley has a population of 14,000 people now. The Vines has a population of 13,000 people now. So just in our little part at the north end of the Swan Valley here, and that was with the census, it will have grown since, there are more than 80,000 people in this area now, and I think we've outgrown community centres that are scaled for maybe 8 or 10,000 people. We need a bigger place for us to come together. So that's part of the reason why I've made the commitment. Another part of the reason is that multiple community groups came to me to say that the spaces that were available either weren't suitable for what they needed in terms of meeting rooms, that there were no storage facilities at those meeting spaces. I know for the Ellenbrook Senior Social Space, for example, every time they wanted to have a meeting, they had to haul their equipment in to the Woodlake Community Centre, and then they had to haul it out, even though they were always meeting in exactly the same space all the time. I know the Ellenbrook RSL have the same challenge. So groups need places to store their stuff. The other thing is that there are some uses for which there are quite particular types of space that are needed, and nowhere in Ellenbrook at the moment that provides those types of spaces that might be needed for arts activities or just private size meetings. The other thing is, and I'll be very honest with you, at the time the City of Swan was charging commercial rates for the utilisation of those spaces, and organisations couldn't afford them, couldn't afford access to those spaces. And that is a real barrier. And in an area like this, which, as we know, isn't the most flush, it's not like Cottesloe or Claremont or the leafy green suburbs, people still want to come together and have every right. And I would rather see community spaces used than sit empty because a commercial rate is being charged for them. I just don't think that's fair, and it's not the sort of community that we want to live in. It is not the sorts of things that I think governments of any level should be preventing people. Rather let places sit empty than have them used. So I think that that's a very important principle as well. I'll let Tania speak to the Ellenbrook Men's Shed, predominantly because it isn't in my electorate anymore. And I will say I do offer Rita Safiotti's apologies for not being here this evening. I know she really wanted to be here if she could. But the Ellenbrook Men's Shed is currently located in the seat of West Swan, and I know Tania's been working very closely. But the Ellenbrook Men's Shed have also been key to this project. But it was just a repeated refrain from no matter what community group I encountered that this was needed. Now, the one thing we also don't want to have happen is loads of little buildings all set up all over this area for just one group that are maybe going to be used once or twice. We do want a space that is multi-user, where groups can come together, where people will have interactions with one another, and can potentially do joint events. And through coming together and sharing the same spaces, we'll get better utilisation out of the building itself, and it'll encourage groups to work together as well. And like I say, we don't want any more little buildings all over the place that are only used once or twice. So that's the other key thing. I have seen these plans, I will say that. I am concerned, I've already discussed it with the City of Swan, about the function space. I am yet to be convinced that on the options that are being presented tonight, that any of them have a function space that is sufficient for what this community needs. So I just want to put that out there right now. I don't want us to get into a situation where we have EDOS plus another 50 square metres. I just don't think that's going to cut it for this community. Might be all right for Caversham, where they've got 8,000 or 10,000 people, but as I say, 80,000 people up here. I would rather we do this once, we do this well. And if it means that we have to go and we do have to seek other funding sources, like from Lottery West, or we have to do other things, let's do it properly. Yeah. Let's not just keep having the wrong solution. So it may mean that we have to wait a little longer, but I just don't, as I say, want to see yet another white elephant built. We've got to do this right? So I would ask for your patience on that. The team have done some absolutely fantastic work getting the concepts right, I think. Absolutely brilliant work, but we've just got to make sure, for me, that the function space is right. So look, I do want to acknowledge all of you giving up your evening tonight to come and have a chat to us this evening about what you want to see from your community facility. I'll be continuing to work with Tania, continuing to work with the City of Swan, and to really try and get the sorts of things we need and deserve out here. So with that, I'll hand over to Tania.
So I won't need to be as long, because Jess does bring that history, and she absolutely has brought the advocacy that enabled me to have the introductions through Jess to the community well ahead of the last election, to understand what's needed, what's working really well, but what will really bring the community together of Ellenbrook and surrounds. So I've been very, very fortunate to be able to work alongside Jess, and then to have the opportunity to meet so many of you in your current spaces, to see them at, from the classy tarts, I'll say, through to the men's shed, and really seeing how those spaces are activated and what the opportunity presents by, looking at it more holistically as to how each of these groups can come together, or potentially by having this standalone facility freeing up space to be more available to the groups that are already using it. It can be a win from both perspectives. So I've got to be honest, I'm super excited about the plans. I think they're extraordinary. It reflects the depth of community consultation that's already has occurred. And I'm super excited to be part of the process, to have money on the table to make this come to life, and to hear your feedback as to how these plans can now be realised. So congratulations to all of you who have contributed to date. And I'm really looking forward to listening and seeing what your thoughts are and how to make it come to life. So well done. Thank you.